going to address all of the cheering that has taken place due to the rollback of DEI initiatives in government and in private business. When I review some of these posts that have been made on videos about Target or Toyota rolling back their DEI programs and all of the cheering that has taken place. And basically, the folks that are cheering are validating all of the atrocities that have taken place throughout the history of this country, such as slavery, Jim Crow, Japanese and American internment camps during World War II, the Trail of Tears, where Native Americans were displaced forcibly from their lands, basically by undocumented immigrants that landed on the shores of this country. You're endorsing the validity of women not having the right to vote. You are endorsing the atrocities during World War II and in other, events in history of genocide. And some people say, well, I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about this woke forcing, LGBTQ plus or transgender men competing in women's sports, all that. Those are just minuscule things that have been blown up into this big boogeyman. But what you really are missing the point on, particularly women, white women who voted for Trump overwhelmingly, you're missing the point that the people that benefited most from DEI and affirmative action were white women. And you're watching accomplished women being removed from their positions. We've had two highly ranked military women taken down from their posts, one in the Coast Guard and just recently, the Joint Chief of Staffs. Who was removed? The black man, the general that was head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the woman that was on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's who was removed. So, what you're really championing is secondary status for all these classes of people. You're not championing folks being removed from jobs that they got undeservedly because of some category they belong to. What you're championing is not competing with me, okay? When I competed, and I'm pretty much done with this corporate career, I brought it. I had the qualifications. I had my education. I had my experience. I had my performance record. So what you're trying to avoid is meritocracy, true meritocracy. Because true meritocracy, I get to compete with Jim Bob. I get to compete with Alan head on merit. That's where you get DEI wrong. DEI is the opposite of what Donald Trump practiced. And here's why I'm saying this. When Donald Trump and his father were sued by the Justice Department in the 1970s for discrimination in rental housing in New York, it's alleged that they would write a C on the application when it was an applicant or applicants of color. So they could just set those aside. They didn't want to consider them based on their financial position, their credit, or anything else. They were basing it on their race, their ethnicity. And that's what's happening right now. The ascendancy, artificially, of white male dominance as women are purged from their ranks of the positions that they have. as people of color are blocked because Trump rescinded the executive order from Lyndon Johnson that prevented workplace discrimination based on age, sex, national origin, and a number of other factors. You're going to see a purge of minorities, of women, and of uh, people of sexual orientation that some people don't find appealing from these organizations. So, the last thing, particularly women and other people of color, should be doing is cheering the rollback of DEI. Because DEI is not elevating unqualified people over someone else because they fit a category. What DEI is saying is consider all qualified people, regardless of what category they're in, and then they can compete on their merits. That's why this anti DEI cheering is absolutely wrong. You got it wrong because you don't understand what the whole premise of affirmative action and DEI was about. And it wasn't people like me that benefited the most. It's some of these same people that are cheering that benefited the most because they just make an assumption that they have equity with their white male counterparts. And you don't.